We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Hello, children of the night. Welcome back to Blood and Guts HHN. Mad Matt here with me as always. Matt, it's time, buddy. Finally, after this long wait is over, we finally got announcements. We got a couple of teasers. We got some merch. We got it all.
Yeah.
And it's long overdue. How you doing?
I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing great because, like you said, this is the longest, since we've been covering the event, this is the longest we've had to wait for, like, ticket drops or house announcement, anything like that. So, I mean, obviously they know they're going to get our money, and I know it boiled down to Epic trying to get its time to shine and its time in the spotlight. But it's like me and you were saying, HHN, Epic, two totally separate things.
Right.
Epic had plenty of time in the spotlight. They should, in my opinion, should have been doing this earlier, but I'm grateful that we finally got some announcements and got our tickets taken care of.
Yeah, I was getting a little mad there on come Thursday when I thought Thursday morning we weren't going to get anything. You know, I was texting you. I was a little upset. So
as you usually get.
Yeah, as I get riled up. But yeah, let's go ahead and break down some stuff. We got tickets to cover. So let's go ahead and kick that off. We got starting with the single night ticket and all the tickets. You know, I guess they went up a little bit here or there.
Well, I know
as you go.
The single night, looking from last year, some stayed the same, like you said. Some did go up about $10 or about $10 is normal what we saw.
Right.
But yeah, the single night was $82.99. I was looking back; that's exactly what it was last year. So we were good there. And the premium screen, $375. I really don't know what they charged for that last year.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I did hear it was a good deal if you're looking to go and beat the lines and you're looking to go and enjoy this. It's kind of like the food samples.
It's one night only, friends and beans. So you do know that ticket there is for one night.
One night only. You get food included. Mm-hmm. I don't think you get alcoholic beverages, or maybe you do, but I know you get the food for sure included, and the wait times last year, from what I heard, were super
it's
low.
Essentially like walk-ons for everything,
pretty much.
And I know from what I heard, a lot of bloggers really use this one because they can get around the park, get a lot of good reaction from the scare actors because you said it's not packed. So whether you're a vlogger or someone just loves HHN, if you can afford that coin, like I said, it's probably a great deal because you ain't got to worry about no express tickets. Like I said, you're just getting on and off the houses, and honestly, them people be jacked up because that's their opening night for the John Q. Public.
Yeah, and if you really look at it, I mean, with the cost of everything, like let's say you did Scream Early Express and a regular ticket.
Oh yeah, you're right there.
You're paying that much anyway, so go ahead and bite the bullet if that's your thing. And then moving on down, Express has gone up $139.99 this year.
Yeah.
So that's probably what, $10?
It's $10 regular, and I know on other nights it's like $149, so $20. So depending on what night you go and how heavy the crowds will be that night.
That's right, and it fluctuates because our Wednesday night Express was less than our Thursday night that we got this year. So,
and honestly, you want to get those as early as possible because Universal's been known to jack up the prices even more as we get closer to that night, because as the amount of tickets shrink, that demand goes up, and then they know they can squeeze extra money out of you. So if you know your nights and when you're going to be going, it's best to go ahead and get your express tickets as early as you can.
That's right. And moving on down, we got the RIP. That's $369.99.
Bucket list right there. Check that one day.
We will do that one day, but this year we're not, of course.
We're meager men.
That's true. That's true. We don't make that good money.
No.
And then you're looking at for the tour. The three house $84.99, or no, is that right?
Right?
Yeah, 84. And then what was the 6 was $189. So that one's gone up for sure. Yeah. We do the tour every year. We love the tour. If you love behind the scenes
Yes, highly
stuff.
recommended.
And if you love to see how they make the magic, do yourself a favor, and if you maybe do the Three House first and see if you like it.
Yeah.
And another addition that they did this year was that now it appears that there's a meal included in the Six House, which they weren't doing that the past few years.
Now, like last year, they actually had, you could buy something there at their concession stand. I can't remember what it was, but like I said, it
just
wasn't,
little snacks.
Yeah, it wasn't included.
This is supposedly a buffet.
Yeah, yes, it did. It'd definitely be a buffet. But I mean, I knew last year they actually had more where it was like a plate or something, because I remember they actually talked about how that was the first time they were doing that too. But we didn't want to risk it, so we went out to.
No, we always go to City Walk anyway.
But yeah, like I said, this year if it's a buffet, I'm willing to take a look at it. But if it ain't something I want, then we'll go to it.
I'm probably going to go to City Walk.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I mean, did we cover the Scream Early?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
Scream Early is 55, so that's up. I think we did 40 last year for that one.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And like we were talking about 5 years ago, right after we come back from COVID, that was just $30. So you're talking about almost double in just a few years. That's crazy just to think about. But I mean, that's just that's life, because everything's going up right now. But,
right.
But there you have it then, friends and feeds. That's the rundown of your tickets. So are you, leave us in the comments if you've already got your tickets. Are you waiting for the Rush of Fear? Because that usually will drop, say, about July.
Yeah, I'm going to say July. They may do sooner, but, it'll be coming.
And so I'm anxious to see if they'll actually do like last year and leave the express tickets out of them. Like
I know there's an uproar over that right now. There's a lot of people saying they are going to do that. There's a lot of people saying maybe they won't. So we'll have to wait and see about that. And
I mean, one thing, friends and things, like I said, if that's something you really don't like, whenever you go to the event and you get that survey, make your voice heard if you want certain things, because I mean they do pay attention to things. So if enough of you cry foul on Universal for taking the express passes out, maybe they'll throw you a bone next year if enough of us holler.
Yeah, that's true.
So moving on then to the fun. Well, actually, before we get to the fun part with the announcements, let's cover what we know a little bit of California, which is not much. We'll kind of skim over this, but we did see BioReconstruct release a few new photos of the possible Terrifier house, where it kind of lines up with the circus and things like that. California peeps, if you're really excited about Terrifier, let us know. We definitely want to hear from you.
Yep, and then you got some construction. The Poltergeist house is pretty much painted. The Scarecrow the Reaping house is also pretty much painted and ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then you have a few more that they're still working on. Yeah. And of course, you can see those better because they're not as hidden as Orlando is.
No. So. No, and they won't be they don't close rides to keep people away like they do at Fast and the Furious. So that'll be fun. So now we get to the funnest part of the show. What's that, Adam?
The meat and potatoes. That's the house announcements. House announcements.
Well, we'll go ahead and start things off then. Universal decided, because apparently there was some type of leak, and we can talk a little bit about that. What we know, we don't know much, but apparently there was a leak. But apparently Five Nights at Freddy's is coming to Halloween Horror Nights. May not be a house.
In some capacity.
So it may not be a house, even though a lot of people have been speculating that this year. So I don't really have any ideas. Like, some people are saying it might be meet and greets. I've heard some people say maybe the Coconut will be Five Nights at Freddy's.
I've heard that they'll have a possible interactive area, kind of like they did with David Pumpkins. And then some people are saying it's going to be a house. I'm thinking it probably will be a house, maybe with an extra caveat to it, and that's why they're listing it as, coming to the event and not as listed as a house, if that makes any kind of sense.
And apparently, like from what we've been hearing, there was a leak by Blumhouse at a panel.
Yeah, it was some kind of, this is what I heard. I don't know how true this is. It was some kind of panel, some kind of convention or something, and Blumhouse had done some trailers, and they were showing some upcoming Megan 2 and things, and they had leaked that Five Nights was coming to Horror Nights. How true that is, I have no idea. Right. But that's just what I had heard.
Yeah. So, like that, just take that with a grain of salt, and we'll see what HHN has in store for us as we get a little closer down the road. But now, the one thing that we can confirm, the one thing that's been speculated on pretty much the whole time, is Fallout. And from the looks of it, with the posters, it looks like they've got Goggins' likeness, so it looks like they are going to do it from the show.
Going for the show, where they paid Prime big money. Yeah. And I was talking to my brother about this earlier. I don't want to think about what they've paid. Because, like when they did Last of Us, for example, the quick version is, they used the game. So they didn't have to get the likeness for Pedro Pascal and the other actors from the show. So with this one, they're doing they're doing the show. So that means they got to not only do the IP, they got to pay the rights for that. They got to do the rights for the actors, the likenesses, the costumes, the set.
And Prime Studios, like I said,
and
it's their
Amazon
baby.
Prime.
Mhm.
So and as far as the show goes, I like the show. I like it a lot.
I'd rather see the show because I played the game a little bit, not enough to where I'm very familiar with it, but enough to where like I said, as whenever the first game came out years ago, I played a little bit up, never did finish it. But the show itself is really well done, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah, and I mean I like the show. How it translates well to a horror element, I'm not exactly sure.
Right.
But here's what you got to think about: is number one is HHN is really really good at doing apocalyptic houses.
Yes.
Let's think about Seeds of Extinction. Let's think about Last of Us. Let's think about Descendants of Destruction.
That's the one I was going for,
all that stuff. And then you got to think about now it's going to be a period piece house, so it's going to be 50s, 60s, alternate nuclear
and then
radiation,
way out in the future,
and way out in the future. So you've got all these elements that Universal can do really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got mutants and freaks, and you've got ghouls and fiends running around. And I mean, I think it's going to be excellent. Think about Bugs Eaten Alive, how that was 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
And had the good music going in there.
I'm like, I think this was going to be not a fun house, as in they're going to make a mockery of things to make you laugh. So it's just going to be a fun house in general, just based on the stuff you said. You're going to have the great set pieces. Mm-hmm. You're going to have great mutants and ghouls and things like that, like you mentioned. One thing I hope they do, and I was telling, we were actually talking about this, me and my oldest son and my wife were talking about, it'd be so cool if you walked in one of those rooms, and I know it'd have to be some type of projector, but I'm willing to let this go. But if you actually walk in and actually see, like, the thumb, blow, like everything blown up. I think that would be a nice touch if you begin the house like that certain way, like seeing the bomb drop. So.
And I think that with Universal being able to do these type of big IP houses, and it might be too early to call. So let's put this on a too early to call. Kind of caption there. But I think this could be the Ghostbusters. Of this year. And that's my too early to call prediction.
Well, I'm like you. Like this is we were talking about this earlier. This is one IP where I'm actually excited for. Like I said, it may not be totally horror, but it's entertaining, and it could have some good jump scares in there, depending on where they have these creatures coming out and popping out there from you. So, like I said, I have no doubt that this will be a great house. Like, do I think it'll be the number one house this year?
No,
probably not. Yeah,
no.
Probably not. But I mean, you never know. It could be like the Exorcist Believer, where we went in there with such low expectations and then end up rising into the top half of our rankings that year.
I agree with you, and I for one, if you've watched our channel, if you're a fan of our channel, I'm not the biggest fan of the IPs. Usually they end up lower toward the bottom of my list. This one I'm actually excited for, and as you know, Ghostbusters last year was really low on my hype and ended up being right up at the top when it was all said and done.
Yeah, and I mean, kudos to like Universal, like I said, because if the rumors are true, like I said, and I hope it's true, because they're talking about how we might have a Jason Voorhees house. So if they are, keep your ears perked up, because next week is
Friday the 13th, and that markets itself
exactly
with the merch and everything. So,
speaking of merch, I'm glad you brought that up, because we didn't touch on it. The Fallout merch is all out as well, friends and fans.
That's right.
So if you're a big fan of the show, obviously you're a big fan of HHN. Go to Universal's website or go to the park and look at some of this cool merch. I know you got Walton Goggins front and center on the shirts. You got some, like I said, the vines, and we'll touch on that in a second too, about the vines and how that plays in. But like I said, just lots of cool merch. They got the glasses, like the
shirts are in with the ghoul on them.
You got hats, all that fun stuff.
And the ghoul's going to be front and center in this.
Yeah.
And you just, what a character he was, and how awesome he was in the show.
I'm so glad that me and the boys were talking about this earlier today too. I'm so glad that because he's been in Hollywood now 25 years at least, going on 30 years, and within the last 5 years he's really kind of exploded to everybody. Talking about Walton Goggins. And it's so well deserved, because he is such a great character. I would pay money to see him star in anything, but a lot of people just still refer to him as a character actor. But man, he can do horror, he can do action, comedy.
John Bronco.
He's so well rounded.
All that stuff.
So, and last but not least, then, friends and fans, we have the trailer for the house. And what a trailer it was is enough to whet your palate, to get you excited, but not give away too much, which is, kudos Universal on that.
Yeah, and if you notice, so when they first released the merch, you had the Gothic window with the vines, almost like a Gothic manor castle house. Well, in the trailer, at the beginning of the trailer, you can see that window and the vines as the kind of HHN logo forms, and the camera rolls into that, and then comes into the trailer, which is set in the living room, and in the trailer for the Fallout house, it says something along the line. I'm probably going to misquote it, but it says something along the lines of, "Oh, our new volunteers are waiting," or something like that. Meaning that I think as you go into this house, you will be a volunteer for the Fallout Vault experiments, and I think that's how they're going to do it. I think that'd be a great way to play.
Yes, that'd be a great way to play.
So you as the customer, you as the experience.
I'm trying out for Vault 33.
You're trying out for Vault 33 or Vault 34 or one of the even worse vaults.
Yeah.
So you're going in as and that's just my hypothesis, but I think that's how they're going to do it this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways they can take that. That would be a fantastic way to do it. And like I said, with that trailer, I know it's just a little touch, but seeing it on that old 60s TV and just hearing that creepy music, like I said, Universal done a great job on that trailer. Unlike last year, we didn't really care for the Ghostbusters. I didn't really care
for those trailers last year, to be honest. Yeah, and this trailer, it's kind of got that funky vibe, and I like it.
Yeah. So far we've got great logos. Like I said, the first trailer really hit, and they had that teaser trailer too.
And I want to see. I don't mean to cut you off. No, I want to see. I want to see how this Gothic Manor falls in.
Yes.
Because if the rumored tortured artist house or whatever it's called, and this person lives in some kind of tortured artist Gothic Manor, maybe we'll have something to go with here. But I want to see how this thing shakes loose. In the coming weeks.
Me too. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, friends and fiends. So I mean, we got the first house. We'll get at least 9 more because they always go with 10. I'll be excited to see what goes in that stage that hasn't been used for Stranger Things. But stay with us throughout the season. Like I said, there's going to be more updates that come from us, and we'll do our best to get that information out to you as quickly as possible.
Yep.
If you have any questions, reach out to us on our Instagram at Blood and Guts HHN. Like I said, that's normally our main one, but I mean, you can hit us up on TikTok, same name, Facebook, and X as well. So, like I said, hit us up on those socials. Like I said, and we'll answer any question that you got.
That's right, and let us know what you're excited for. And as always, remember to stay spooky, stay scared.
You made it to the end of the video, friends and fiends. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.